Imagine, if you will, a vast stretch of American highway, shimmering under a relentless sun, where all traffic has ground to an inexplicable halt. The cause? Not a pile-up, not a breakdown, but a creature barely larger than a house cat. A tiny bobcat kitten, holding the mighty indifference of the world at bay. This is where our story begins. A story that will draw a seasoned state trooper into a baffling mystery, revealing an almost unbelievable bond between a human and a creature of the wild. The sun, a fiery disk in the endless blue sky, hammered down on Interstate 10 with brutal intensity. Heat waves danced off the blacktop, twisting the distant, scrub-covered hills into a wavering illusion. The air itself felt heavy, a tangible pressure. Normally, this remote artery hummed with the sparse but steady rhythm of 18-wheelers and dusty pickup trucks. But today, an unnatural quiet had descended. Traffic, what little there was, had come to a perplexing standstill. This was no ordinary delay. The culprit was astonishingly small, incredibly wild, and utterly baffling. A bobcat kitten, a tiny, furry symbol of desperate resolve, planted squarely in the middle of the scorching road. It was a silent, poignant standoff that would soon ensnare Officer Olivia Ramirez, a veteran state trooper, and pull her into a mystery far deeper than the sun-baked plains of the West. Officer Ramirez, her standard-issue trooper hat pulled low against the glare, expertly guided her patrol car onto the dusty shoulder. The dispatch call had been brief. Wildlife disturbance, Interstate 10, vicinity mile marker 217. Small animal reported obstructing traffic, possibly aggressive. 11 years patrolling these sprawling highways had taught Olivia that aggressive was a highly subjective term. It could mean anything from a rabid raccoon to a territorial wild hog, or even a deer frozen in fear. But a bobcat kitten stopping highway traffic? That was a new one. As she cut the engine, the sudden silence was punctuated only by the click of her seatbelt and the distant, frustrated honk of a truck further back. Stepping out of her air-conditioned car was like walking into an oven. The heat hit her in a suffocating wave. She took a moment to adjust, her eyes, trained to scan for the slightest threat, immediately locking onto the cluster of vehicles and people at the heart of the disturbance. A few cars and pickup trucks were parked haphazardly, their occupants standing in small, hesitant groups, a strange mix of caution and captivated curiosity. Cell phones were raised, recording the drama. Olivia noted their body language, apprehension mixed with undeniable fascination. A man in a faded Dallas Cowboys t-shirt, sweat plastering his gray hair to his temples, was gesturing animatedly toward the road. Olivia approached, her boots crunching on the dry gravel. "Afternoon, folks," she said, her voice calm and authoritative. "Officer Ramirez, State Police. Can someone tell me what's going on?" The man in the cowboy's shirt turned, relief on his face. "Officer, thank goodness. It's the strangest thing. There's a little bobcat, a baby one, right out there." He pointed. "Been there for a good half hour. It just runs out, then scoots back to the median. Nearly caused a huge wreck earlier. Big rig had to slam on his brakes. Seems real distressed, almost like it's trying to tell us something." He shook his head, bewildered. Olivia nodded, her gaze shifting to the small, spotted creature. It was tiny, almost lost on the vast highway. Its fur, a perfect desert camouflage, was lightly dusted. It paced a nervous circle on the faded yellow median line, its movements jerky and anxious. Its tufted ears twitched, its wide, golden eyes, disproportionately large, scanned the human onlookers with an unnerving intensity. As the rumble of another approaching truck vibrated through the asphalt, the kitten would dart further into the roadway, a tiny act of defiance, then scramble back to the median. Its behavior was undeniably odd, not the blind panic of a trapped animal. There was an almost deliberate, desperate quality to its actions, a refusal to simply flee into the nearby scrub. "Has anyone tried to get close to it?" Olivia asked, her hand instinctively near her service weapon. A mother bobcat nearby would be an even greater concern. "No, ma'am. The Cowboys fan replied. Figured it's best to keep our distance. Wild animal and all. Don't want to spook it into traffic. Olivia thanked him and began to walk carefully towards the median, observing the kitten's every twitch. She raised her binoculars, bringing the tiny creature into focus. And that's when she saw it clearly, a distinct glint of bright blue and silver, snug against the fur of its left hind leg. It wasn't a burr or debris. It was a small, undeniably man-made device, a band of some sort. The sight of the tag sent a jolt through Olivia. This changed everything. This wasn't just a lost wild kitten. It was, or had been, in contact with humans. It was tagged. This meant research, rehabilitation, or perhaps something else entirely. Her police instincts kicked into high gear. This was escalating from a traffic hazard into a genuine puzzle. Dispatch, this is Unit 312. Olivia spoke into her shoulder mic regarding the wildlife incident on I-10, mile marker 217. The animal is a juvenile bobcat. Officer Ramirez on scene. Be advised, the animal appears to be tagged. Small blue and silver device on its left hind leg. This may not be a standard wildlife tag. Requesting you contact regional parks and wildlife. See if they have information on tagged bobcats or any research projects. This situation might be more complicated. While she awaited a response, Olivia continued to observe the kitten. It emitted another small, urgent chirp, impossibly fragile against the vast landscape. Then, with a decisive, almost pleading look back at Olivia, it turned and took a few tentative steps towards the dense, thorny wall of desert plants bordering the highway. It paused at the edge of the brush, its small head cocked, looking back at her as if to say, "Are you coming?" The radio crackled. Dispatch had contacted a regional wildlife expert. Unit 312, be advised, Parks and Wildlife has limited information on active bobcat tagging in this specific area. However, the tag description, blue and silver, on the leg is unusual. They are cross-referencing with state park databases for any hiker or researcher permits involving such devices. Stand by. Olivia acknowledged, her eyes never leaving the kitten, which was now making small, impatient movements at the edge of the scrub. The wait felt interminable. Finally, dispatch came through again, her voice tinged with gravity. Unit 312, we have a potential match. The initials BC and the numerals 4022 have been reported on a personal emergency location marker registered to a Mr. Ben Carter. Mr. Carter is an experienced outdoorsman and a licensed wildlife rehabilitator affiliated with a research facility near Austin. He is currently overdue from a solo hike in the Big Bend Ranch State Park, which borders this highway. His campsite registration number was 4022. Search and rescue protocols are being initiated for Mr. Carter. A missing hiker, a tag bobcat, a device meant for human emergencies. The pieces slammed into place with chilling clarity. This tiny kitten wasn't just lost. It was a messenger of four-legged SOS. The bobcat, which Olivia now thought of as Jasper, as if it understood the change in her demeanor, let out another chirp and then, without further hesitation, trotted purposefully into the dense, uninviting tangle of the wilderness. It looked back once more, its golden eyes seeming to implore her to follow. Olivia keyed her mic again. Dispatch, confirm SNR mobilization for Ben Carter. The bobcat appears to be leading me into the brush in the direction of Big Bend Ranch. I'm going to follow. Maintaining radio contact. Request SNR rendezvous at my current location for entry point. Understood, Officer Ramirez. Proceed with extreme caution. Advise SNR of your progress. Nearest ground team ETA, approximately 30 minutes to your current highway location. Air support is being scrambled. Olivia took a deep breath, the hot, dry air searing her lungs. She gave a curt nod to the onlookers, a silent instruction to stay put. Then, with a final check of her gear, she pushed her way through the thorny embrace of the scrubland, the little bobcat her unlikely and increasingly desperate guide. The going was tough. The underbrush was thick and unforgiving, the ground uneven. Jasper, however, moved with astonishing agility, a small, spotted phantom flitting through the dappled shadows. It stayed about 50 feet ahead, just visible enough, navigating the dense scrub with innate grace. Periodically, it would pause, its head turning, golden eyes glinting, waiting to ensure Olivia was still following. Its silent communication was more eloquent than words. Olivia, pushing branches from her face, sweat stinging her eyes, marveled at the creature's tenacity. This wasn't just an animal. This was a lifeline. She noted Jasper seemed to be following a faint, almost imperceptible trail, disturbed earth, bent twigs, the faint indentation of a boot print. It's staying on what looks like a game trail, or maybe a barely there hiking path, she muttered in her radio, updating dispatch. The heat was relentless. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably closer to an hour of hard trekking, the terrain began to change. The dense scrub gave way to larger trees. Jasper led her toward the small, shadowed clearing. The signs of a recent, violent event were chillingly apparent. The undergrowth was flattened. A battered aluminum water bottle lay near a heavy-duty backpack, torn open, its contents scattered. A single, muddy hiking boot lay forlornly nearby. Then, Olivia's trained eyes caught dark, rust-colored stains on several broad leaves. Dried blood. Her stomach clenched. Jasper had stopped at the very edge of the clearing, near a steep drop-off into a narrow ravine, perhaps 30 feet deep. A small stream trickled along its rocky bottom. Jasper was looking down, its tiny body tense, emitting low, anxious chirrs. Olivia followed its gaze, and her heart plummeted. There, partially concealed by the heavy trunk of a fallen tree that had evidently crashed down, was a human form. "Ben Kitten!" Olivia yelled. The figure stirred, a hand lifting almost imperceptibly. He was alive. A wave of profound relief washed over her, quickly followed by professional composure. She scrambled down the loose scree of the ravine. Ben was conscious, but barely. His leg was horribly trapped beneath the massive tree trunk, bent at an impossible angle. His face was ashen, his lips cracked, his eyes clouded with pain and shock. Jasper, the tiny bobcat, had somehow navigated the treacherous descent and was now huddled close to him. A small, warm, purring bundle pressed against his side, its golden eyes fixed on Olivia. Through pained gasps, Ben managed to whisper the story. He'd been on the final leg of his hike, tracking Jasper as part of its pre-release assessment. Jasper was a special case, an orphan kitten more habituated to humans than ideal for a full return to the wild. They had been caught in a sudden, violent thunderstorm the previous evening. Lightning had struck a nearby tree, sending Jasper bolting. The same strike, Ben theorized, must have weakened the ancient tree he'd taken shelter under. He'd been cautiously following Jasper's trail when a massive tree had crashed down, pinning his leg. His emergency beacon was in his backpack, flung yards away. Knowing his situation was critical, and with Jasper his only improbable hope, he'd made a desperate gamble. He'd somehow retrieved his personal emergency location marker, the blue and silver device Olivia had spotted. With fumbling, pain-racked fingers, he'd attached it to Jasper's existing tracking harness, a harness linked to him, his caretaker. He'd then urged Jasper, with what little strength he had, to go, to find help, to get to the road. He hadn't known if it would understand, if his desperate, fragmented training would hold. He had simply put his faith in the tiny creature. "Jasper," he rasped, his eyes flickering towards the kitten. "Good girl." Jasper, as if in response, let out a soft, rumbling purr and nuzzled his outstretched, trembling hand. The arrival of the search and rescue team, guided by Olivia's precise radio updates, was swift and efficient. They assessed Ben's condition, administered first aid, and began extricating his leg. Throughout, Jasper remained a steadfast, watchful presence. It didn't interfere, but its golden eyes, filled with an almost human-like concern, never strayed far from Ben. As they finally freed him and maneuvered him onto a stretcher, Jasper tried to follow, its small body trembling, emitting those same soft, distressed chirps Olivia had heard on the highway. Olivia, moved by a depth of emotion unusual for her in the line of duty, knelt beside the small cat. "It's okay, Jasper," she murmured, her voice surprisingly gentle. "He's going to be all right. They're taking him to get help. You did a good job, Jasper. A very, very good job." The Bobcat looked at her, and for a fleeting moment, Olivia felt an almost human-like understanding pass between them. The story of Ben Carter, the dedicated wildlife rehabilitator, and Jasper, the Bobcat kitten who had braved a highway and led rescuers to his side, became an instant local sensation. Soon, national news outlets picked it up, captivated by the narrative of a man devoted to saving animals who had, in turn, been saved by one. The account was irresistible, a powerful testament to the profound intelligence of animals and the mysterious bonds that can form across species. The ensuing publicity had an immediate positive effect. Donations flooded into Ben's modest rehabilitation facility near Austin, enough not only to cover his medical bills, but also to fund a new project, the Lone Star Wildlife Sanctuary. This innovative program, as Ben explained to Olivia during one of her follow-up visits a few weeks later, would provide a permanent, enriching sanctuary for animals like Jasper. These were creatures who, due to injury or early imprinting, couldn't be fully returned to the wild, but could serve as powerful educators, teaching the public about their species and conservation. A state-of-the-art facility was already in design. Speaking of publicity, Ben interjected, a wry smile on his lips as he adjusted the cast on his leg. The governor's office called. "They want to present both of us with a special commendation at the annual Conservation Summit next month." He looked slightly embarrassed. "I told them Jasper clearly deserves the award. I believe their diplomatic response was that they don't currently have a protocol for bestowing state honors upon bobcats." He chuckled. "But they're using Jasper's image on a new commemorative state park pass. So there's that." Olivia smiled, a genuine, warm smile. She remembered the small, desperate creature on that scorching highway. Who could have ever imagined, she mused, that such a tiny creature would not only save a man's life, but also potentially change how so many people view the complex relationship between humans and the wild animals who share our world? As if sensing her thoughts, Jasper, now housed in a large, transitional enclosure filled with native plants and rocks, padded to the front of its habitat. It sat, its gaze meeting Olivia's through the reinforced glass. For a long, silent moment, the officer and the bobcat simply looked at each other. In those intelligent, unwavering golden eyes, Olivia saw not just a wild animal, but a survivor, a quiet hero, and a profound, beautiful mystery. 3 months later, Ben Carter, leaning on a cane, but with the old sparkle back in his eyes, stood beside Olivia at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the newly completed Lone Star Wildlife Sanctuary. He shared Jasper's incredible story with the assembled crowd. When he recounted Olivia's crucial role, he insisted she join him at the podium. "Officer Ramirez," he announced, his voice thick with emotion, represented the very best of human compassion and professionalism that day. She didn't dismiss a mere animal as unimportant. She recognized intelligence, she saw intent, and she acted, even when that intelligence and intent came in a very small, very unexpected, and very furry form. After the ceremony, Ben led Olivia to a special observation area overlooking Jasper's magnificent permanent enclosure. It was a sprawling, naturalistic space. Jasper, now a sleek, confident young adult, moved with fluid grace through its domain. "It's really thriving here, isn't it?" Olivia observed. "It is," Ben confirmed, his voice filled with pride. "The whole experience, it hasn't seemed to set back its spirit. If anything, it's given us new insights into its cognitive abilities, its capacity for something that looks a lot like loyalty. Is that kind of bond, that level of recognition, unusual for a bobcat, even one rehabilitated by humans?" Olivia asked. "Very," Ben said, nodding. "Bobcats generally don't differentiate much between individual humans unless they've had extensive, consistent positive contact. But Jasper seems to recognize you, Olivia. It remembers you. Olivia felt a strange warmth as Jasper, from its perch on a sun-warmed rock, turned its head and fixed her with that same intent, golden gaze. Do you ever just wonder what it's thinking? Olivia asked, almost to herself. Ben Smyth. Every single day, but I've learned to respect the mystery. Jasper, and others like it, remind us that these incredible animals aren't just instinct-driven. They are complex with their own forms of intelligence. Jasper is helping us understand that the line between wild and tame isn't as clear-cut as we often imagine. 6 months after that fateful day on Interstate 10, Olivia found herself once again driving towards the Austin Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. This visit was purely personal. She hadn't been able to shake the image of Jasper or the profound implications of that day. Her sergeant had even jokingly suggested she make Jasper the mascot for their community outreach. The center was now a bustling hub, the new wildlife sanctuary wing drawing visitors from all over. Ben greeted Olivia warmly. Olivia, good to see you. You're just in time for Jasper's public appearance for the day. He led her to Jasper's expansive enclosure. A group of schoolchildren were gathered at a safe distance, listening as a young docent explained Jasper's story. Jasper itself was the picture of wild grace, lounging on a sun-drenched rock, seemingly unbothered. It stretched, then began grooming. Yet, as Olivia watched, Jasper's head came up, its ears swiveling, and its golden eyes scanned the crowd before settling, with what seemed like a flicker of recognition, directly on Olivia. For a long moment, the officer and the Bobcat held each other's gaze through the reinforced observation glass. In that silent exchange, Olivia felt again that inexplicable, profound connection, a bridge forged in crisis, a link between her structured world and the ancient, instinctual world of the wild. Each, she realized, had vital lessons for the other. It remembers you, you know, Ben said softly beside her. Dr. Evans, our lead biologist, he's been documenting its interactions. He says its behavior towards you is noteworthy, different from how it reacts to other unfamiliar humans, even other uniformed personnel. Olivia felt a warmth spread through her. It's quite the celebrity now, isn't it? Ben chuckled. It is, and a very effective one. One rescued Bobcat, one incredible story, has done more for wildlife conservation awareness in these past 6 months than a decade of traditional campaigns. People connect with Jasper with its story. They want to help. It's opening minds and hearts. His voice was filled with pride. This little cat is changing things for the better for all of its kind. As the sun began its slow descent, painting the sky in fiery hues, Olivia reflected on the extraordinary cascade of events that had begun with a routine call. It had been a day that had not only saved Ben Carter's life, but had also, in its own way, saved a part of Jasper, giving it a new purpose. And it had undeniably changed Olivia, deepening her appreciation for the complex lives of the wild creatures who shared her world. It was, Olivia thought, a fitting and beautiful chapter in an extraordinary story. And as she watched Jasper, the Bobcat ambassador, confidently surveying its domain, Olivia had a strong feeling that this was not an ending, but perhaps just the remarkable beginning of many more such stories to come. Stories of connection, understanding, and the enduring power of a single, determined life, whether human or feline.